The text message hit my phone like a sledgehammer to the chest. Ashley, my sister, had just casually informed me that I would be watching her 4 kids on New Year's Eve while she and Jake hit the resort's exclusive party. When I objected, she replied that our parents already agreed this was the arrangement and that I should stop being selfish since I don't have a real family anyway. The message arrived 30 minutes before our flight departure. I stared at my phone screen in complete disbelief, reading Ashley's message over and over again. $15,000. That's what I had spent planning this perfect family vacation to Mountain View Resort in Colorado. 2 weeks of research, comparing packages, booking the best accommodations, arranging activities for everyone. And now, 30 minutes before boarding, I discover I'm apparently the designated babysitter for the entire trip. My hands shook slightly as I walked toward the departure gate where my family was already gathered. Mom and Dad sat together, sharing a travel magazine, and looking completely relaxed. Ashley was juggling her coffee, while Jake corralled their 4 kids. Madison, 8 years old with pigtails, was spinning in circles. Hunter, 6, was making airplane noises and running between the seats. 4-year-old Braden clung to his tablet, and 2-year-old Emma sat in her stroller, occasionally shrieking for attention. I approached my parents first, hoping this was all some terrible misunderstanding. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Ashley just texted me about watching the kids on New Year's Eve. There must be some confusion because I never agreed to that." My mother, Carol, looked up from her magazine with a puzzled expression. "Oh, Barry, don't be dramatic. Ashley mentioned you'd be helping with the children during evening activities. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" My voice rose slightly, and other passengers glanced over. "I'm paying for this entire vacation, and now I'm finding out I'm expected to provide childcare services too?" My father, Robert, folded the magazine and gave me one of his stern looks. "Son, family means contributing more than just money. Those kids need supervision, and you're the logical choice since you don't have other commitments." The words stung more than I expected. Other commitments. Like having my own life somehow made me the automatic family servant. Ashley approached our group, having apparently noticed the discussion. "Barry, please don't make this difficult. We've been looking forward to some adult time for months. You know how hard it is for us with 4 kids. When exactly was this decided?" I asked, pulling out my phone. "Because I have no record of agreeing to be anyone's babysitter." Ashley and Jake exchanged a quick glance that sent alarm bells ringing in my head. Jake stepped forward, his usual smug expression firmly in place. "Look, Barry. We figured since you're single and don't really understand family dynamics, this would be good experience for you. Maybe help you grow up a little." The condescension in his voice made my blood boil. Jake worked part-time at a sporting goods store and had never held a steady job for more than 2 years. Ashley hadn't worked since Madison was born, claiming the kids needed her full attention. Meanwhile, I had built a successful software engineering career, owned my own home, and apparently funded their lifestyle more often than I cared to admit. "Show me where I agreed to this," I demanded. Ashley pulled out her phone with theatrical reluctance. "Fine. If you're going to be difficult about it." She scrolled through her messages and then handed me the device. What I saw made my stomach drop. It was a group text chain titled Colorado Trip Planning that included Ashley, Jake, Mom, and Dad. Notably absent, me. The messages went back 3 weeks. I scrolled up and read with growing horror. Ashley. "So we're all set for Barry to watch the kids during evening activities, right? Dad. Makes sense. He needs to learn family responsibility anyway. Mom. I worry he's becoming too independent. This will be good for him. Jake. Perfect. Ashley and I researched the resort's New Year's package. Barry can handle the kids while real couples celebrate. Ashley. Exactly. He's always throwing money around but never actually participates in family life. Time for him to contribute something meaningful. Dad. Agreed. Success has made him disconnected from family values. This trip will remind him what's really important." The messages continued, each one more infuriating than the last. They had discussed my life, my relationship status, my supposed shortcomings, and my role as unpaid childcare provider, without including me in a single conversation. "You planned this entire thing behind my back," I said. my voice barely controlled. "We planned what was best for the family," Mom replied. "Sometimes people need gentle guidance to see their responsibilities clearly." "Gentle guidance? You manipulated me into funding a vacation where I'm expected to work as a babysitter." Jake stepped closer, his chest puffed out. "Nobody's making you do anything, Barry. If you can't handle family time, maybe you shouldn't have planned a family trip." The twisted logic was staggering. I had planned and paid for a family vacation that my family had secretly redesigned to exploit my generosity and singleton status. "Uncle Barry, are you mad at Mommy?" Madison appeared beside me, her big eyes filled with concern. Ashley immediately scooped up her daughter. "Uncle Barry is just tired, sweetheart. He's excited about our special sleepover parties, while Mommy and Daddy have grown-up dinner." Madison clapped her hands. "Sleepover with Uncle Barry. Can we have ice cream for breakfast?" "We'll see, baby," Ashley cooed, then shot me a challenging look. "You're not going to disappoint the children, are you, Barry?" The manipulation was masterful. In one move, she had weaponized the kids' excitement and positioned me as the villain if I objected to the arrangement. Boarding announcement for Flight 472 to Denver. The gate agent called over the intercom. "Come on, everyone," Dad said, gathering his carry-on bags. "Let's get this family vacation started." As we moved toward the boarding line, Jake whispered to Ashley, just loud enough for me to hear. "I can't believe he's making such a fuss over spending some quality time with his nieces and nephews. Really shows his priorities." I stood frozen for a moment, watching my family board the plane like nothing had happened. They had orchestrated this entire scenario, planned it for weeks, and expected me to smile and play along. The worst part was how normal they all acted, like manipulating and exploiting a family member was just standard operating procedure. But the real shock was yet to come. As I finally moved toward the boarding line, I received an email notification on my phone. It was from my credit card company, confirming a charge of $3,147 for a presidential suite upgrade at Mountain View Resort. I never authorized that charge. I quickly called the resort's customer service line as I walked down the jet bridge. "Mountain View Resort, this is Jennifer. How may I assist you?" "Hi, I'm Barry Chen calling about a recent charge to my credit card for a suite upgrade. I didn't authorize this." "Let me check your reservation, Mr. Chen. I see here that the upgrade was requested by Carol Chen, who indicated she was your mother and had authorization to make changes to your booking." My mother. She had used my credit card, without permission, to upgrade Ashley and Jake to the presidential suite. While I was getting a standard room, since you'll be busy with childcare anyway, according to the reservation notes. As I hung up and boarded the plane, one thought echoed in my mind. This was just the beginning. If my family thought they could manipulate and exploit me this brazenly, what other surprises were waiting for me in Colorado? The flight attendant directed me to my seat in economy while my family settled into their first-class accommodations. Another upgrade I apparently paid for without knowing. This was going to be a very long vacation. The 3-hour flight to Denver gave me plenty of time to stew over what I had discovered. Every few minutes, I would glance toward the first-class cabin where my family was enjoying complimentary drinks and premium service, while I sat in a middle seat between a crying baby and a man who apparently believed deodorant was optional. When we landed at Denver International Airport, I was already exhausted, but the real nightmare was just beginning. Mountain View Resort was everything the brochures promised. Nestled in the Rocky Mountains with pristine snow-covered peaks surrounding a luxurious lodge complex, it looked like a winter wonderland. Under different circumstances, I would have been thrilled to experience such an incredible destination. The shuttle ride from the airport should have been relaxing. Instead, I listened to Ashley explain to the kids all the amazing activities Uncle Barry had planned for them. "Uncle Barry signed you up for snow tubing every morning," she announced cheerfully, "and indoor playground time every afternoon. Plus cooking classes where you can make cookies and pizza." Hunter bounced in his seat. "Really? Uncle Barry, can we make chocolate chip cookies?" I had never signed up for any cooking classes. I had never signed up for daily snow tubing. I had researched activities available at the resort, but I certainly hadn't committed myself to a packed schedule of children's entertainment. "Ashley, when did I sign up for all these activities?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral in front of the kids. "Oh, I took care of all that when I was helping Mom with the planning," she replied breezily. I knew you'd want the kids to have the full experience. The shuttle pulled up to the resort's grand entrance, where uniformed staff members immediately began unloading luggage and greeting guests. A woman in an elegant black suit approached our group with a warm smile. "Welcome to Mountain View Resort. I'm Susan, your concierge coordinator. You must be the Chen family party." "That's us," Ashley said, stepping forward as if she was in charge. "I'm Ashley. This is my husband Jake, our 4 children, my brother Barry, and our parents." Susan consulted her tablet. "Wonderful. I have detailed notes here about your stay. Mr. Barry, I understand you'll be handling all the children's activities during your visit. We've prepared a special schedule of family-friendly events." My jaw dropped. "I'm sorry, there seems to be a misunderstanding. I never requested a schedule of children's activities." Susan looked confused and checked her tablet again. "According to our notes, Mrs. Ashley specifically coordinated with our Family Services Department to arrange comprehensive childcare programming. She indicated you were very excited about bonding with your nieces and nephews." Ashley jumped in quickly. "Barry's just being modest. He's been planning this trip for months specifically to spend quality time with the kids." "That's not true," I started to protest, but Susan was already moving on. "Let's get everyone checked in and settled. Mr. Barry, your room is in the family wing, specifically chosen for easy access to our children's activity center. Mr. and Mrs. Jake, your presidential suite is in the romantic retreat section, perfect for couples seeking privacy and relaxation." As we walked through the opulent lobby with its soaring timber ceiling and massive stone fireplace, I felt like I was in some sort of alternate reality. My family had not only planned to use me as free childcare, but had actually coordinated with resort staff to institutionalize the arrangement. At the check-in desk, I received another shock. The desk clerk, a friendly young man named Brian, handed me a thick folder of paperwork. "Mr. Chen, here are all your activity confirmations. You have snow tubing tomorrow morning at 9, indoor playground from 2 to 4, children's cooking class at 5, and family game night at 7. Quite an ambitious schedule." I flipped through the papers in disbelief. Every single activity was confirmed and prepaid. According to the timestamps, the bookings had been made 2 weeks ago. "There must be some mistake," I said. "I never booked these activities." Brian consulted his computer screen. "The bookings were made under your name and charged to your credit card on file. The notes indicate that Mrs. Ashley helped coordinate the schedule as a family planning assistant." Family planning assistant. Ashley had somehow convinced the resort staff that she was authorized to make decisions and bookings on my behalf. "I'd like to speak with a manager about these unauthorized charges," I said firmly. "Of course, sir. However, our management team is currently off duty for the holiday. The earliest appointment available would be tomorrow morning." Ashley linked her arm through mine with fake sisterly affection. "Barry, don't make a scene. The kids are so excited about all the fun activities you planned." Madison tugged on my jacket. "Uncle Barry, when can we go snow tubing? Mommy said it's like a roller coaster in the snow." Before I could answer, a resort staff member approached with a clipboard. "Mr. Chen? I'm David from our dining services. I wanted to confirm your special childcare meal packages. You've arranged for all children's meals to be charged to your room, including special dietary accommodations and premium snack selections." I hadn't arranged any meal packages. I was discovering that Ashley had apparently spent the past 2 weeks making decisions about my vacation and my money without bothering to inform me. "How much are these meal packages?" I asked. David consulted his clipboard. "The comprehensive family meal plan comes to $237 per day, including gratuities and service charges. Nearly $240 per day just for the kids' meals. For a week-long stay, that was over $1,600 I never agreed to spend." "I need to review all charges being made to my account," I said, my patience wearing thin. "Certainly, sir. You can access your account details through the guest services portal in your room or speak with our billing department." As we finally made our way to our rooms, I noticed the layout of the resort told the whole story. Ashley and Jake's presidential suite was located in a quiet, adults-only section with spa access, romantic dining options, and mountain views. My room was positioned directly next to the children's activity center, the indoor playground, and the family dining area. It was like they had designed my accommodations specifically for maximum child supervision convenience. Inside my standard room, I found yet another surprise. On the desk sat a welcome basket filled with children's activities, coloring books, small toys, and a note. Thank you for choosing Mountain View Resort for your family bonding experience. We hope you and your nieces and nephews create wonderful memories together. There was also a detailed schedule printed on resort letterhead, outlining every hour of my vacation. Tomorrow alone included breakfast supervision at 7 a.m., snow tubing at 9, lunch management at noon, indoor playground from 2 to 4, snack time at 4:30, children's cooking class at 5, dinner supervision at 6:30, and family game night from 7 until 9. It was like being handed a job description for a position I never applied for. I sat on the edge of the bed and called the concierge desk. Guest services, this is Susan. Susan, this is Barry Chen in room 314. I need to understand how all these children's activities got booked under my name without my knowledge. Oh, Mr. Chen, I'd be happy to clarify. Mrs. Ashley contacted our family services coordinator 2 weeks ago. She explained that you were planning a special uncle-nephew bonding vacation and wanted to surprise the children with a full activity schedule. She provided your credit card information and reservation number as authorization. She doesn't have authorization to use my credit card or make bookings on my behalf. I see. This sounds like a family communication issue. Unfortunately, since all activities are confirmed and paid for, any changes or cancellations would need to be processed through our management team tomorrow. I hung up the phone and stared at the activity schedule. Ashley hadn't just manipulated me into being a babysitter. She had created an elaborate system where the resort staff expected me to fulfill childcare duties throughout our entire stay. A knock on my door interrupted my brooding. I opened it to find Ashley and Jake, both looking annoyingly pleased with themselves. Getting settled in? Ashley asked, breezing past me into the room. The kids are so excited about tomorrow. Madison keeps asking when Uncle Barry's fun day starts. Ashley, we need to talk about these activities you booked without asking me. Jake leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. Come on, Barry. You've got money but no responsibilities. What else are you going to do here? Sit alone in your room. Maybe I wanted to enjoy the vacation I paid for. Maybe I wanted to use the spa, or go skiing, or have a relaxing dinner. Ashley laughed. Barry, you don't even ski. And when was the last time you went to a spa? This is perfect for you. You get to bond with family and actually contribute something meaningful for once. Contribute something meaningful? I've contributed $15,000. Money isn't everything, Jake said smugly. Family is about time and effort, not just writing checks. The irony was staggering. Jake, who had never paid for a family vacation in his life, was lecturing me about family contributions. Besides, Ashley added, the kids need consistency. They can't just run wild while the adults relax. Someone has to supervise them. Then, supervise your own children. Ashley's expression darkened. Barry, that's incredibly selfish. Jake and I work hard all year, taking care of 4 kids. This is our chance to reconnect as a couple. I thought you'd be happy to help family. The guilt trip was expertly delivered, but I was starting to see through the manipulation tactics. What about Mom and Dad? Why aren't they helping with supervision? They're grandparents, Barry. They've done their time raising children. It's your turn to step up. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from the resort spa. Thank you for your reservation request. Unfortunately, our New Year's Eve packages are fully booked. We hope you enjoy the family activities you've planned instead. I showed the message to Ashley. Did you book spa appointments for yourself? She had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. Jake and I made a few reservations. We figured you'd be busy with the kids anyway. You used my platinum member status to get priority booking, didn't you? Well, yes, but only because we knew you wouldn't mind helping family. I was beginning to understand the full scope of their planning. They had systematically booked every premium experience for themselves while trapping me in a schedule of childcare duties. And they had done it all using my money and my membership benefits. That evening, as I sat alone in the resort's family dining room, supervising 4 children through dinner, while Ashley and Jake enjoyed a romantic meal at the adults-only restaurant upstairs. I realized something important. This wasn't just about one vacation. This was about establishing a pattern where my resources and my time were considered family property to be allocated as others saw fit. But they had made one crucial mistake in their planning. They had underestimated me. The next morning, I woke up at 6:30 to the sound of small fists pounding on my door. According to the schedule Ashley had created, I was supposed to supervise breakfast for all 4 kids at 7 a.m. sharp. Uncle Barry, Uncle Barry, Madison's voice carried through the door. Mommy said to come get you for breakfast. I opened the door to find all 4 children standing in the hallway, already dressed for snow activities. Behind them stood Ashley, holding 2 coffee cups and looking remarkably well-rested for someone who supposedly worked so hard all year. "Good morning," she chirped. "I brought you coffee." The kids are super excited about snow tubing. I told them you'd help them get ready after breakfast. "Where's Jake?" I asked, accepting the coffee out of basic politeness. "Oh, he's still sleeping. Late night at the adults' lounge." She winked conspiratorially. "You know how it is." I didn't know how it was, actually. Since I had spent my evening in a family restaurant listening to Emma scream about not wanting vegetables, while Braden spilled chocolate milk on my pants. The breakfast supervision went about as expected. Hunter insisted on syrup on everything, including his scrambled eggs. Madison demanded pancakes cut into perfect circles, rejecting any that were slightly oval. Braden refused to eat anything that wasn't the exact shade of brown he preferred, and Emma threw Cheerios at other diners, while I tried to maintain some semblance of order. By the time we finished breakfast, I felt like I had worked a full day already, and it wasn't even 8 a.m. Snow tubing turned out to be an elaborate production involving special equipment rentals, safety briefings, and constant vigilance to keep 4 children from launching themselves down mountain slopes unsupervised. The staff was friendly and competent, but they clearly expected me to handle all parental responsibilities, while Ashley and Jake were nowhere to be found. "Mr. Chen," said the activity coordinator, a college-aged woman named Jennifer. "Just so you know, your sister and her husband mentioned they might stop by later, but they wanted you to have special bonding time with the kids first." Of course they did. After 2 hours of snow tubing, during which I spent more time chasing runaway children than enjoying any winter sports, we returned to the lodge for lunch. The kids were excited but exhausted, covered in snow and desperately needing attention I wasn't qualified to provide. In the family dining room, I watched Emma have a complete meltdown because her grilled cheese was too square, while Hunter complained that his soup was too wet. Madison wanted to know when Mommy was coming back, and Braden refused to sit in his chair for more than 30 seconds at a time. That's when I noticed Ashley and Jake across the dining room, sitting in the resort's premium lunch spot, the Mountain View Terrace. They were laughing over wine and gourmet salads, occasionally glancing in my direction with satisfied expressions. They were literally watching me struggle with their children while enjoying a romantic lunch I was paying for. I pulled out my phone and called Ashley. "Hi Barry, how's lunch going with the kids? You looked like you were having such a bonding moment." "Ashley, I need you to come help with lunch. Emma is having a meltdown, and I can't manage all 4 kids alone." "Oh, Barry, you're doing great. This is exactly what the kids need: quality time with their uncle. Jake and I will see you at dinner." She hung up without giving me a chance to respond. As I sat there, surrounded by crying children and judgmental stares from other diners, something clicked into place. This wasn't just inconvenience or poor planning. This was deliberate exploitation designed to extract maximum value from my presence while excluding me from any enjoyment of the vacation I had funded. After finally getting the kids settled for their mandatory afternoon nap time in the children's quiet area, I decided to do some investigating. I went to the resort's business center and logged into my email and credit card accounts. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 2 weeks, there had been dozens of charges to my credit cards that I hadn't authorized. Ashley had apparently convinced multiple service providers that she had permission to book activities and services on my behalf. Premium spa packages for Ashley and Jake, $873. Romantic dinner reservations at the resort's exclusive restaurant, $450 per night for 5 nights. Wine tasting experiences, $620. Private couples massage sessions, $740. Luxury transportation services, $390. Professional photography sessions, $560. The list went on and on. Ashley had essentially planned a luxury romantic getaway for herself and Jake, funded entirely by my credit cards, while designing my experience to be nothing but unpaid childcare labor. But the real shock came when I accessed my personal email account and found several automated messages I had somehow missed. Credit card applications. 3 different credit card companies had sent confirmation emails about my applications for new accounts. According to the applications, I was seeking credit lines to fund expanded family travel experiences and had provided Ashley as an authorized user on all accounts. Ashley had used information from planning this vacation to apply for credit cards in my name, using my excellent credit score to secure favorable terms, with the clear intention of making herself an authorized user with full spending privileges. This wasn't just vacation manipulation. This was identity theft and fraud. I immediately called my bank and credit card companies to report the unauthorized applications and charges. The customer service representatives were helpful but explained that resolving identity theft cases would take time, especially during the holiday week. Meanwhile, I was stuck at a resort, where my family expected me to continue providing free childcare while they enjoyed luxury experiences purchased with my stolen financial information. As I sat in the business center researching my legal options, my phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Hey Barry, kids are asking for you. Ashley said you'd take them to the arcade before dinner. Can you handle getting them ready? We're at couples yoga right now." Thanks, bro. Couples yoga. Another activity I was undoubtedly funding without my knowledge. I walked back toward the family wing, my mind racing with plans. As I passed the resort's main information desk, I overheard a conversation that stopped me in my tracks. The desk clerk was talking to another guest about booking modifications. "I understand you'd like to extend your stay, Mrs. Ashley. Let me check availability for additional nights. And you mentioned adding some premium experiences?" I stepped closer and saw Ashley at the counter, with several brochures spread out. She was inquiring about extending their vacation by 3 additional days and adding helicopter tours, private chef experiences, and exclusive spa packages, all presumably to be charged to my accounts. "Ashley," I said, approaching the desk, "what are you doing?" She turned with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, Barry. I was just exploring some options for the family. I thought it might be nice to extend our bonding time." "Extend our stay? With what money?" "Well, I know how much this family time means to you. I thought you'd want to invest in more meaningful experiences." The desk clerk looked between us uncertainly. "Should I hold off on the booking modifications?" "Yes," I said firmly. "Don't make any changes to our reservations." Ashley's smile faltered. "Barry, can I speak with you privately?" We moved away from the desk, and Ashley's demeanor immediately shifted. "Look, I know you're feeling overwhelmed with the kids, but this vacation is really important for our family bonding. Jake and I rarely get time together, and the children are having such amazing experiences with you. Amazing experiences that you're charging to my credit cards without permission." Ashley looked genuinely surprised by my directness. "Barry, we're family. I didn't think you'd mind covering some extras for the people you love." "Some extras? Ashley, you've charged thousands of dollars without asking me. You applied for credit cards in my name. This isn't family sharing, this is theft." Her expression hardened. "That's a very ugly way to characterize family support. What would you call using someone's credit information without permission?" "I'd call it family taking care of family. But maybe you're too selfish to understand what that means." She walked away, leaving me standing alone in the lobby with the crushing realization that my sister saw nothing wrong with stealing from me as long as she could frame it as family obligation. That evening, the situation reached a breaking point during our scheduled family dinner. My parents had finally emerged from their luxury accommodations to join us at the resort's formal dining room. As we settled around a large table, with me automatically positioned next to the children while Ashley and Jake sat with wine glasses and relaxed expressions, I decided it was time for a confrontation. "Mom, Dad, I need to discuss some serious issues about this vacation." Robert looked up from his menu with mild irritation. Barry, we're trying to enjoy a nice family dinner. Can't this wait? No, it can't wait. Ashley has been making charges to my credit cards without permission, and she's applied for new credit accounts using my information. Carol immediately looked concerned. That sounds like a misunderstanding. I'm sure Ashley would never do anything inappropriate. It's not a misunderstanding. I have documentation of unauthorized charges totaling over $6,000. Jake set down his wine glass with a sharp clink. Barry, you're being paranoid. Ashley was helping coordinate activities for the family. That's what family members do. Family members don't steal credit card information and apply for unauthorized accounts. Ashley's eyes filled with tears, right on cue. Barry, I can't believe you're accusing me of stealing. I was trying to make this vacation special for everyone. Madison looked up from her coloring book. Why is everyone talking loud? Is Uncle Barry mad at Mommy again? The manipulation was perfect. Ashley had positioned herself as the victim and made me look like the aggressor in front of the children. Robert leaned forward with his stern father expression. Son, I think you're overreacting. Ashley made some planning decisions to help organize family activities. That's not theft, that's family cooperation. Dad, she used my credit information to apply for new accounts and made herself an authorized user without my permission. That's literally the definition of identity theft. Carol reached across the table and patted my hand. Barry, honey, I think you're stressed from all the activities with the children. Maybe you're not thinking clearly. The gaslighting was breathtaking. My own parents were dismissing documented financial fraud as stress-related confusion. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. Ashley has stolen my financial information and exploited my generosity. And all of you have been complicit in planning this manipulation. Ashley's tears flowed freely now. Barry, I never meant for you to feel this way. I thought you wanted to be more involved with family. I thought you'd be happy to contribute to experiences that bring us all together. Hunter tugged on my sleeve. Uncle Barry, why are you making Mommy cry? The children were getting upset. Other diners were staring. And my family was closing ranks around Ashley's victim narrative. Jake stood up abruptly. You know what, Barry? If spending time with your family is such a burden, maybe you should just go back to your room and let the people who actually care about each other enjoy dinner. The people who actually care about each other? I'm the one who paid for everyone to be here. Money isn't love, Barry, Ashley said through her tears. Maybe if you spent less time worrying about dollars and more time building real relationships, you'd understand what family actually means. The lecture about family values was coming from a woman who had literally stolen my financial information to fund her romantic getaway. As the dinner dissolved into uncomfortable silence and the children asked increasingly worried questions about why the grown-ups were fighting, I realized something crucial. My family wasn't going to acknowledge what Ashley had done. They were going to continue enabling her behavior and gaslighting me into accepting financial exploitation as normal family dynamics. But they had made one critical error in their planning. They had assumed I would continue to prioritize family harmony over my own financial security and personal dignity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ashley's manipulative tears and heard Jake's condescending lectures about family values. But somewhere, around 3 a.m., my anger crystallized into something much more useful: determination. At 6 in the morning, I was already dressed and sitting in the resort's business center with my laptop, phone, and a legal pad full of notes. If my family wanted to treat this like a business transaction disguised as family manipulation, then I would handle it like the business problem it actually was. First, I called my primary bank and spoke with their fraud department. Mr. Chen, I'm reviewing your account activity and I can see several concerning patterns, said Linda, the fraud specialist. Unauthorized charges, credit inquiries you didn't initiate, and what appears to be systematic misuse of your financial information. That's exactly right. What are my options for protection and recovery? We can immediately place fraud alerts on all your accounts, reverse unauthorized charges, and begin a formal investigation. For the credit applications, you'll need to contact each company directly and file identity theft reports. What about ongoing protection? The person doing this is my sister, and she currently has access to resort services using my information. I'd recommend placing a temporary freeze on all accounts associated with your reservation, and we can issue you new cards with different numbers. The old cards will be deactivated immediately. Perfect. Within an hour, Ashley's ability to charge anything to my accounts would be completely eliminated. Next, I called my lawyer friend Derek back in Seattle. Despite the early hour, he answered on the second ring. "Barry, what's wrong? You never call this early." I explained the entire situation, from the manipulative planning to the identity theft to the current vacation dynamics. Derek was quiet for a long moment. "Barry, this isn't just family drama. What you're describing constitutes multiple felonies: identity theft, credit fraud, unauthorized use of financial information. Your sister could face serious criminal charges. I don't want to destroy her life, Derek. I just want this to stop. I understand, but you need to protect yourself. Document everything, gather all evidence, and consider filing a police report. Even if you don't pursue criminal charges, having official documentation will protect you if this escalates." After hanging up with Derek, I spent 2 hours documenting every unauthorized charge, every manipulation tactic, and every piece of evidence I could gather. Screenshots of text conversations, credit card statements, emails from resort services, everything that proved the systematic nature of Ashley's deception. At 8 a.m. sharp, I called the resort's management office and requested an emergency meeting with the general manager. "Mr. Chen, I'm Patricia Williams, the general manager. I understand you have concerns about your stay." Patricia was a professional woman in her 40s with the kind of calm competence that suggested she'd handled difficult situations before. "Miss Williams, I need to report systematic fraud involving my credit accounts and unauthorized bookings made by family members." I laid out the entire situation with documentation. Patricia reviewed the evidence with growing concern. "Mr. Chen, this is very serious. Our staff was told by Mrs. Ashley that she had authorization to make bookings and charges on your behalf. We had no reason to suspect fraud. I understand that, but I need all unauthorized charges reversed and all future charges blocked unless authorized directly by me. Of course. I'll also need to involve our security team to ensure this doesn't continue during your stay." As if summoned by cosmic timing, Ashley chose that moment to walk into the management office. "Barry, there you are. The kids are looking everywhere for you. You missed breakfast supervision." She stopped short when she saw Patricia and the spread of documentation across the desk. "Oh, am I interrupting a business meeting?" Patricia looked between Ashley and me. "Mrs. Ashley, Mr. Chen has reported significant concerns about unauthorized charges and bookings made using his financial information." Ashley's face cycled through several emotions: surprise, confusion, hurt, and finally, anger. "Barry, what are you doing? These people don't need to be involved in family discussions. Family discussions don't typically involve identity theft and credit fraud." "Identity theft? Barry, that's an incredibly hurtful accusation." Patricia interjected diplomatically. "Mrs. Ashley, according to our records, you've made numerous bookings and charges using Mr. Chen's credit information over the past 2 weeks. Did you have explicit authorization for these transactions?" Ashley looked trapped. "Well, no, but we're family. Barry's always generous with family expenses. Being generous with family expenses typically involves being asked first," I said. "Mr. Chen," Patricia continued, "our security director will need to review this situation. In the meantime, we'll freeze all charging privileges associated with your account until we can verify authorization procedures." Ashley's composure finally cracked. "Barry, you're embarrassing our entire family over money. The kids are going to be devastated if their activities get canceled. The activities I never authorized and never agreed to supervise. You're being incredibly selfish and cruel." Patricia stood up. "I think it would be best if we involved our security director and possibly local authorities to sort out these allegations." "Local authorities?" Ashley's voice rose. "Barry, you're calling the police on your own sister over vacation expenses? I'm protecting myself from financial fraud." Ashley stormed out of the office, but not before making one final declaration. "You're going to regret this, Barry. Family means everything, and you're destroying ours over your petty obsession with money. 30 minutes later, Ashley returned with Jake and my parents in tow. Jake immediately launched into his standard aggressive posture. Barry, what the hell is wrong with you? Ashley's in our room crying her eyes out because you're accusing her of being a criminal. Robert and Carol looked genuinely distressed. Son, Dad said. Surely, this is all a misunderstanding that can be worked out within the family. It's not a misunderstanding. Ashley systematically used my financial information without permission to fund luxury experiences for herself and Jake while trapping me in unpaid childcare duties. Carol dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Barry, honey, I think you're having some kind of breakdown. Ashley was just trying to help coordinate family activities. The gaslighting continued, but now I had professional backup. Patricia returned with Mark, the resort's security director, who had reviewed all the documentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark said formally, we have clear evidence of unauthorized use of credit information and falsified authorization claims. This is beyond our ability to mediate as a customer service issue. Jake puffed up his chest. Are you threatening us? I'm explaining that Mr. Chen has grounds for filing criminal charges, and our resort policy requires us to cooperate with any investigations. The room fell silent. Finally, Ashley spoke in a small voice. Barry, I never meant for it to go this far. I just thought you'd want to help family have a nice vacation. Help? Ashley, you stole my credit information and planned an elaborate scheme to exploit my generosity. This wasn't helping. This was theft with a side of emotional manipulation. Robert tried one more intervention. Son, can't we work this out without involving outsiders? Family should handle family problems. Family problems involve disagreements and misunderstandings. This is criminal fraud. That's when I played my final card. Ashley, I said, pulling out my phone, I need you to see something. I showed her my phone screen, which displayed a canceled flight confirmation. What is that? She asked warily. That's the confirmation for everyone's return flights. I canceled them this morning. The silence was absolute. Jake was the first to find his voice. You what? I canceled all return flights that were booked under my name and paid for with my credit cards. Since you've been using my financial information without permission, I figured I should exercise some control over my own bookings. Ashley stared at the phone screen in horror. Barry, you can't do that. We have to get home. I have work. The kids have school. You should have thought about that before committing credit fraud. Carol looked panicked. Son, how are we supposed to get home? The same way anyone gets home from vacation. You book and pay for your own flights. Mark nodded approvingly. Mr. Chen has every right to cancel travel arrangements he paid for, especially given the circumstances. Jake's face was turning red. Do you have any idea how much last-minute flights cost during holiday week? I imagine they cost about as much as the unauthorized charges you and Ashley have been making to my accounts. Ashley was calculating quickly. Barry, last-minute flights for 6 people could cost over $7,000. We don't have that kind of money. Then I suggest you contact your travel insurance, if you bothered to buy any. Or maybe ask the people who've been enjoying luxury spa treatments and romantic dinners to contribute to the solution. For the first time since this nightmare began, my family was experiencing real consequences for their actions. And they clearly didn't like it. Patricia cleared her throat diplomatically. Perhaps we should give the family some time to discuss their options privately. As my family filed out of the office in stunned silence, Ashley turned back to me with desperation in her eyes. Barry, please. I know I made mistakes, but you can't leave us stranded in Colorado. Think about the children. I am thinking about the children, Ashley. I'm thinking about how they deserve parents who model honesty, responsibility, and respect for other people's boundaries. Maybe this experience will teach all of you those lessons. After they left, Patricia and Mark both looked at me with something like admiration. Mr. Chen, Patricia said, I've been in hospitality management for 15 years, and I've never seen someone handle family manipulation quite so decisively. I spent 3 hours this morning documenting everything and planning my response. If they want to treat family relationships like business transactions, then I'll respond accordingly. Mark nodded. What's your plan for the rest of your stay? I'm going to enjoy the vacation I paid for. Alone if necessary. As I walked back to my room, I felt something I hadn't experienced since arriving at the resort: peace. My family had assumed they could manipulate and exploit me indefinitely because family loyalty meant accepting whatever treatment they decided to dish out. They were about to discover how expensive that assumption would prove to be. The next morning brought a series of increasingly frantic knocks on my door. I was enjoying a leisurely room service breakfast, the first meal of the vacation I had eaten in peace, when Ashley's voice carried through the door. "Barry, please, we need to talk. The kids are asking why you disappeared." I opened the door to find Ashley looking genuinely distressed. Her usual perfectly styled hair was disheveled, and she had clearly been crying. "The kids are asking questions I can't answer," she continued. "Madison wants to know why Uncle Barry doesn't want to play with them anymore." "Where's Jake?" I asked, noticing she was alone. He's trying to figure out flight options. Barry, the cheapest flights we can find are over $800 per person. For all 6 of us, it would cost almost $5,000 just to get home." "That's unfortunate." Ashley stepped closer, her voice taking on a pleading tone. "Barry, I know I made mistakes. I should have asked before making those bookings. But please, don't punish the kids for my poor judgment." "The kids aren't being punished. They're experiencing the natural consequences of their parents' decisions." "Their parents' decisions? Barry, I may have overstepped boundaries, but calling it fraud and theft is extreme." I pulled out my phone and showed her the documentation I had compiled. "Ashley, you applied for 3 different credit cards using my information without my permission. That's not overstepping boundaries, that's identity theft." She stared at the evidence, and for the first time, seemed to understand the seriousness of her actions. I didn't think of it that way. I thought since we're family doesn't give you the right to steal someone's financial information." Ashley's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it with growing panic. "That's Jake. He says the resort is asking for immediate payment for our remaining charges. Our credit cards are being declined. That's because I had all my accounts frozen and new cards issued. Any charges you made to my accounts have been disputed and reversed. Barry, our room charges, our meal plans, everything is going to our cards now. We can't afford this place without your accounts covering expenses." The beautiful irony was finally hitting home. Ashley and Jake had planned a luxury vacation they couldn't afford, assuming they would be able to fund it with my stolen credit information. Now that their access was cut off, they were faced with the real cost of their choices. My phone rang. It was Patricia from Resort Management. "Mr. Chen, we have a situation developing with your family members. Their credit cards are being declined for resort charges, and they're requesting to speak with you about payment arrangements. I'll be right down." In the management office, I found Jake pacing frantically, while my parents sat looking shell-shocked. Jake immediately pounced when I walked in. "Barry, you have to fix this. Our cards are being declined, and they're saying we owe over $3,000 for charges that were supposed to be covered by your accounts. Those charges were never supposed to be on my accounts in the first place." Robert looked up with a defeated expression. "Son, your mother and I don't understand all these financial details, but we can't afford to pay resort prices for our remaining stay." "Then you should check out early and find accommodations you can afford," Carol gasped. "Barry, we can't just leave. We planned this whole week together as a family. You planned this week as an opportunity to exploit my generosity while excluding me from any enjoyment of the vacation." Patricia interjected diplomatically. "Mr. Chen, your family members are requesting that you resume payment responsibility for their charges. What would you like us to tell them?" "Tell them that each adult is responsible for their own expenses, just like any other resort guests." Jake's face turned red. "Barry, this is insane. You're really going to leave your own family stranded in an expensive resort with bills they can't pay? I'm treating you exactly how you treated me, as people who are expected to handle responsibilities they took on without being consulted." Ashley tried a different approach. "Barry, what if we compromise? What if we pay you back for everything? We could set up payment plans." "Ashley, you don't have jobs that could support paying me back $8,000 in unauthorized charges, plus $5,000 for new flights home, plus whatever additional resort fees you've accumulated. Let's be honest about the financial reality." The math was sobering for everyone in the room. My family had committed to expenses totaling well over $15,000 without any realistic ability to pay for them. Patricia consulted her computer screen. I should mention that resort policy requires immediate payment resolution for declined charges. If payment isn't arranged within 24 hours, we'll need to involve collection procedures. Jake's voice cracked slightly. What does that mean? It means the resort will pursue legal action to recover unpaid balances, which could include garnished wages, liens, and damaged credit ratings. The consequences were finally becoming real for my family. They had treated this entire situation like a game where Barry would eventually cave and pay for everything. Now they were discovering that actions have costs, and those costs don't disappear just because they're inconvenient. Ashley looked at me with genuine desperation. Barry, please, I'll do anything to fix this. I'll pay you back, I'll work extra jobs, I'll sign legal agreements. Just please don't let this destroy our family financially. You should have considered the financial consequences before committing identity theft. Stop calling it that. I'm your sister. Being my sister doesn't give you the right to steal from me. My parents exchanged worried glances. Finally, Robert spoke up. Barry, your mother and I have some savings. Maybe we could work out a payment arrangement where we cover part of the costs and Ashley and Jake handle the rest over time. Dad. That's enabling the same behavior that created this problem. Ashley and Jake need to face the consequences of their choices without family bailouts. Carol started crying softly. I don't understand how a family vacation turned into this nightmare. It turned into this nightmare when you all decided to plan my vacation without consulting me and steal my financial information to fund luxury experiences for yourselves. Jake made one last attempt at intimidation. Barry, when this is all over, you're going to have to live with the fact that you destroyed your family relationships over money. Jake, when this is all over, you're going to have to live with the fact that you committed felonies against a family member and then tried to blame him for your consequences. Patricia cleared her throat. I hate to interrupt, but I do need to inform everyone that Resort Security will be conducting a formal investigation into the fraudulent charges. Local authorities may become involved if we can't resolve the situation internally. Ashley looked genuinely terrified for the first time. Local authorities? Like police? Credit fraud is a criminal matter, ma'am. The resort has liability issues when guest accounts are compromised. Jake's aggressive posture collapsed entirely. Barry, you can't let them call the police. Ashley could be arrested. Think about what that would do to the kids. I am thinking about the kids. They deserve to see their parents face consequences for dishonest behavior, instead of being taught that family loyalty means enabling theft. Ashley was sobbing now. Barry, I'm begging you. Please don't let me get arrested. I'll sign anything, agree to anything. Just please make this stop. For the first time since this nightmare began, Ashley was experiencing genuine remorse instead of manipulative tears. She was finally understanding that her actions had real consequences that couldn't be avoided through emotional manipulation. Ashley, I said calmly, if you want to avoid criminal charges, you'll need to make immediate restitution for all unauthorized charges and provide written confession of what you did. How much restitution? Patricia consulted her records. Based on unauthorized charges, disputed transactions, and fraudulent account access, the total comes to $11,437. Ashley stared at the number in horror. I don't have that kind of money. Then you'll need to figure out how to get it. Just like you expected me to figure out how to pay for vacation expenses I never authorized. Jake looked utterly defeated. Barry, even if we liquidate everything we own, we couldn't come up with $11,000. That sounds like a personal financial planning problem. My parents looked back and forth between Ashley's tears and my resolute expression, clearly torn between their instinct to enable Ashley and their growing understanding that she had committed serious crimes. Finally, Robert spoke up quietly. Ashley, honey, maybe it's time to take responsibility for what you've done and work with Barry to find a solution. Ashley looked up through her tears. What kind of solution? I considered the situation carefully. My goal wasn't to destroy Ashley financially or separate her children from their mother. But I also couldn't allow her behavior to continue without consequences. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to provide written confession of every unauthorized charge and every lie you told resort staff. You're going to agree to a payment plan for full restitution that includes interest and penalties. And you're going to submit to financial counseling to address whatever thinking led you to believe identity theft was acceptable family behavior. Ashley nodded eagerly. Yes, okay, I'll do all of that. And you're going to arrange and pay for your own transportation home. Barry, we still can't afford last-minute flights for 6 people. Then you'll need to get creative. Drive, take buses, ask friends for help. Figure it out like any other adults who overextended themselves financially. Jake found his voice again. What about you? Are you staying for the rest of the vacation? I'm staying for the vacation I planned and paid for. The difference is that now I'll actually get to enjoy it instead of providing unpaid childcare services. Ashley looked confused. But what about the kids? Who's going to watch them during adult activities? The question perfectly illustrated how thoroughly my family had planned to exploit me. Ashley literally couldn't imagine a scenario where she and Jake would have to supervise their own children during their vacation. Ashley, I said patiently, parents typically supervise their own children. That's how parenting works. As the meeting concluded with Ashley and Jake scrambling to figure out how they would survive the rest of their stay without access to my credit accounts, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. I felt respected by my own family, not because they loved me, but because they finally understood that love and respect are earned through behavior, not demanded through manipulation. The lesson was just beginning. The transformation over the next 24 hours was remarkable to witness. My family, suddenly faced with real consequences for their actions, scrambled to adapt to a reality where Barry wasn't an unlimited financial resource to be exploited at will. I spent that morning at the resort spa, finally using the platinum member benefits I had paid for. As I enjoyed a deep tissue massage followed by a therapeutic soak in the mineral pools, my phone buzzed occasionally with increasingly frantic texts from various family members. Ashley. Barry. We're trying to figure out transportation home. Could you at least help us research options? Jake. The kids are asking why Uncle Barry isn't eating with them anymore. This is really confusing for them. Mom. Sweetheart, maybe we could all sit down and talk through this as a family? Dad. Son, I think you've made your point. Can we work toward resolution now? I turned my phone on silent and focused on enjoying my vacation for the first time since arriving in Colorado. Around noon, I was relaxing in the resort's adult-only infinity pool area when Resort Security Chief Mark approached with an update. Mr. Chen, I wanted to inform you that local authorities have completed their review of the fraud allegations. Officer Johnson would like to speak with you when convenient. I found Officer Johnson, a professional woman in her 30s, waiting in the resort security office with comprehensive documentation spread across the table. Mr. Chen, I've reviewed all evidence related to the unauthorized use of your credit information. Based on the documentation, we have clear grounds for multiple felony charges against your sister. What kind of charges? Identity theft, credit fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. The total value of unauthorized transactions exceeds $10,000, which elevates this to serious felony territory. Officer Johnson showed me the legal framework. However, given the family relationship and your sister's apparent willingness to make restitution, we can offer a deferred prosecution option. What does that involve? Your sister would plead guilty to the charges, agree to supervised repayment of all damages, and complete financial responsibility counseling. If she fulfills all requirements over a 2-year period, the charges would be dismissed. The option seemed fair. Ashley would face real consequences without having her life completely destroyed. There's one additional requirement, Officer Johnson continued. Your sister would need to provide complete disclosure of all financial misconduct and agree to regular monitoring of her credit activities. What happens if she violates the agreement? Immediate prosecution with no plea options. She'd face maximum sentences for all charges. As we concluded the meeting, Officer Johnson handed me a business card. Mr. Chen, I have to say, your documentation and handling of this situation was exemplary. Most people in family fraud cases either enable the behavior or overreact emotionally. You found a middle path that protects your interests while offering your sister a chance to make things right. That afternoon, I was enjoying a peaceful lunch in the resort's premium restaurant when Ashley appeared at my table. accompanied by Jake and my parents. They all looked exhausted and stressed, but Ashley's demeanor was completely different from her previous manipulative approaches. "Barry, may we sit down? I need to tell you some things." I gestured to the empty chairs, and they joined me at the table. Ashley took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I owe you a genuine apology. Not because I got caught, but because what I did was wrong." She looked directly at me, without the theatrical tears or victim posturing. "I convinced myself that using your credit information was okay, because you make good money and don't have a family to support. I told myself you'd want to help if I just arranged everything first. But the truth is, I knew you'd say no if I asked directly, so I decided to steal from you instead." Jake shifted uncomfortably. "Barry, I was part of this too. I encouraged Ashley to book extras because I thought you'd never miss the money. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Robert cleared his throat. "Son, your mother and I enabled this behavior by going along with the planning and not questioning the arrangements. We should have insisted that Ashley discuss everything with you directly." Carol nodded tearfully. "We've been talking, and we realize we've been treating you like a family ATM, instead of a person with your own needs and boundaries." Ashley continued, "I met with Officer Johnson this morning and agreed to the deferred prosecution option. I'm going to make full restitution, attend financial counseling, and submit to credit monitoring for 2 years." "How are you planning to make restitution?" I asked. Jake answered, "We're going to sell our house and downsize to something we can actually afford. I'm taking a second job, and Ashley's going to work part-time while the kids are in school." Ashley nodded. "We calculated that we can pay you back $400 per month if we make serious lifestyle changes. It'll take over 2 years, but we'll pay every penny back with interest." "What about getting home from this vacation?" "We're driving," Ashley said simply. "I called my friend Jessica in Denver, and she's letting us borrow her minivan. It'll take 2 days to drive home, but we can afford gas and cheap motels." The solution was practical and showed they were finally taking responsibility for their financial situation. Robert leaned forward. "Barry, we want you to know that we've learned something important from this experience. We've been taking your generosity for granted and treating your success as something the family was entitled to share without asking. Going forward," Carol added, "we want to rebuild our relationship on mutual respect instead of financial dependency." I listened to their apologies and commitments, trying to gauge their sincerity. The stress and consequences had clearly forced genuine reflection on their behavior patterns. "I appreciate the apologies," I said finally. "But words are easier than sustained behavior change. How do I know this won't happen again the next time you face financial pressure?" Ashley pulled out a folded document. "I've written and signed a complete confession of everything I did wrong, with specific commitments about future behavior. Officer Johnson has a copy, and I want you to have one too." I read the document carefully. It was thorough, specific, and legally binding. Jake added, "We've also arranged for our financial counselor to send you quarterly reports on our progress. Full transparency about our financial situation and debt repayment." "What about the kids?" I asked. "How are you explaining this situation to them?" Ashley's voice was thoughtful. "We're telling them age-appropriate truths. That mommy made poor choices about money and needs to work harder to fix her mistakes. That Uncle Barry isn't responsible for taking care of everyone else in the family." Carol nodded. "We're also going to start teaching them about money management and personal responsibility so they don't repeat these patterns." As our conversation continued, I found myself genuinely impressed by the depth of their reflection and planning. The consequences had forced real growth instead of just surface apologies. "There's one more thing," Ashley said quietly. "I want you to enjoy the rest of your vacation. You planned and paid for this trip, and you deserve to experience it the way you intended." That evening, I had my first, truly peaceful dinner at the resort. As I sat alone in the premium dining room, enjoying expertly prepared food and wine while watching snow fall outside the windows, I reflected on the dramatic changes in family dynamics over just a few days. My phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. "Saw you at dinner and decided not to interrupt. You looked relaxed for the first time this week. Enjoy your evening." For the first time since childhood, I felt like my family saw me as a person rather than a resource. The next morning brought the final resolution. Ashley, Jake, and my parents were packed and ready to begin their drive home when they stopped by my room to say goodbye. "Barry," Ashley said, "I know it'll take time to rebuild trust between us, but I want you to know that losing our relationship would be a much bigger loss than any money I took." Jake shook my hand firmly. "Thank you for not pressing charges when you could have. We'll prove we deserve the second chance." My parents both hugged me, and Dad said something that surprised me. "Son, I'm proud of how you handled this situation. You were firm about your boundaries, while still showing compassion for family." As they loaded into their borrowed minivan for the long drive home, I watched from my window and felt a complex mix of emotions. Sadness at how bad things had gotten, relief at the resolution, and cautious optimism about future family relationships built on genuine respect. I spent the remaining 3 days of vacation exactly as I had originally planned. Skiing, spa treatments, gourmet dining, and peaceful relaxation. For the first time in years, I enjoyed family vacation time that was actually restorative instead of stressful. On my final morning at the resort, Patricia approached me at checkout with an unexpected announcement. "Mr. Chen, given the circumstances of your stay and the exemplary way you handled a difficult situation, resort management would like to offer you a complimentary 3-night return visit next year. That's very generous, but not necessary. We insist. Your situation taught our staff important lessons about verifying authorization procedures, and your professionalism during a family crisis was remarkable." As the shuttle took me to Denver International Airport for my flight home, I found myself looking forward to rebuilding family relationships on healthier foundations. The consequences had been difficult for everyone, but they had also created opportunities for growth that wouldn't have existed without crisis. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is refuse to enable their destructive behavior. Sometimes boundaries and consequences create space for genuine respect and affection to develop. And sometimes, standing up for yourself teaches other people how to respect themselves as well. 6 months after that Colorado vacation, I was sitting in my home office when the mail arrived with Ashley's monthly restitution payment, right on schedule. $400, sent by certified check with a handwritten note. Month 6 of 28. Thank you for giving me the chance to make this right. Love, Ashley. The transformation in my family relationships over those months had been remarkable to witness. What started as a nightmare vacation had evolved into the foundation for healthier dynamics built on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. Ashley and Jake followed through on every commitment they made. They sold their oversized house and moved into a modest 3-bedroom home they could afford on their actual income. Ashley found part-time work as an administrative assistant while Jake took a second job doing weekend landscaping. Their financial counseling sessions were helping them develop realistic budgeting skills and break the cycle of living beyond their means. Most importantly, they were learning to parent their children without expecting extended family to provide financial support for lifestyle choices they couldn't afford. Madison, Hunter, Braden, and Emma adjusted to their family's new financial reality with the resilience that children often show when adults finally provide consistent structure. Ashley told me the kids actually seemed happier now that their parents were present and engaged instead of constantly stressed about money. My parents went through their own transformation. They entered family therapy to address their enabling patterns and learned to support Ashley and Jake through encouragement rather than financial bailouts. Mom started volunteering with a financial literacy nonprofit, channeling her nurturing instincts into helping other families avoid the mistakes our family made. Dad began having regular conversations with me about my life and interests beyond just my income and career success. For the first time in years, we talked about hobbies, relationships, and personal goals without any underlying agenda about how my resources might benefit other family members. The quarterly financial reports from Ashley and Jake's counselor showed steady progress. They were building emergency savings, paying down debt, and learning to live within their means. More importantly, they were developing the skills to handle financial challenges without defaulting to manipulation or exploitation of family members. My own life improved dramatically once I established clear boundaries about financial assistance. I started dating Sarah, a teacher who appreciated my generosity but never expected it or took it for granted. Our relationship developed naturally, without the complicated dynamics of financial dependency that had plagued my family interactions. I also began volunteering with a local nonprofit that helped people recover from identity theft and financial fraud. My experience with Ashley's behavior gave me insights that helped other victims navigate the legal and emotional challenges of family financial abuse. The most unexpected development was how much closer I became with my nieces and nephews once the relationship wasn't built on expectations that I would fund their entertainment. I visited Ashley and Jake regularly, bringing small gifts and planning activities that were about spending time together rather than spending money. Madison, now 9, told me during one visit, "Uncle Barry, I like that you and Mommy don't fight about money anymore. It's more fun when you're here because you want to be here." Her insight captured the essential change in our family dynamics. Relationships based on mutual choice and affection were infinitely more satisfying than relationships based on financial obligation and manipulation. The legal consequences also served their purpose. Ashley completed her financial counseling program and maintained perfect compliance with the credit monitoring requirements. Officer Johnson told me that Ashley's case had become a model for how family financial crimes could be resolved through accountability rather than just punishment. Ashley herself had grown tremendously through the experience. During a recent family dinner, she said something that showed how much her perspective had changed. "Barry, I used to see your success as something the family was entitled to benefit from. Now I understand that your success belongs to you, and anything you choose to share is a gift, not an obligation." The shift from entitlement to gratitude had transformed not just Ashley's relationship with money, but her entire approach to family relationships. Jake had his own revelations. The man who once lectured me about family values while stealing my credit information now worked 2 jobs to support his family and expressed genuine appreciation for the second chance he received. "Barry," he told me recently, "I thought being a man meant being provided for by family connections. I've learned that being a man means taking responsibility for your own choices and consequences." The experience taught all of us that genuine love sometimes requires enforcing boundaries that feel harsh in the moment but create space for healthier relationships to develop. My parents learned that enabling irresponsible behavior isn't kindness, it's actually a form of control that prevents people from developing essential life skills. Ashley and Jake learned that financial manipulation destroys trust and intimacy in ways that take years to repair. And I learned that setting boundaries with family isn't cruel or selfish, it's an act of love that protects everyone's long-term well-being. The Colorado vacation that began as a nightmare of exploitation and manipulation became the catalyst for the most honest and respectful family relationships I had ever experienced. The temporary pain of confronting the truth created space for permanent improvements in how we treated each other. Looking back, I realized that my family's behavior hadn't developed overnight. Years of enabling and conflict avoidance had created patterns where manipulation seemed normal and boundaries seemed selfish. Breaking those patterns required a crisis that forced everyone to confront the real costs of their behavior. The most profound lesson was understanding that money isn't the root of family problems, it's often just the tool that reveals existing character issues and relationship imbalances. Ashley's theft wasn't really about money. It was about entitlement, lack of empathy, and distorted thinking about family obligations. Resolving the theft required addressing those underlying character issues, not just repaying the money. 6 months after Colorado, I received an invitation that perfectly illustrated how much had changed. Ashley and Jake invited me to Madison's birthday party with a note that said, "We're planning a small celebration at home with homemade cake and backyard games. Nothing fancy, but we'd love to have you join us if you're available. No gifts necessary, just your presence would make Madison's day special." The invitation represented everything healthy about our new family dynamics: realistic expectations, genuine affection, and respect for my autonomy to choose my level of involvement. I attended the party and had one of the most enjoyable family gatherings in years. The children were excited to show me their artwork and tell me about school. Ashley and Jake were relaxed and present instead of stressed about impressing anyone. My parents contributed homemade decorations and helped with cleanup, instead of expecting someone else to fund and organize everything. As I drove home that evening, I reflected on how much richer my life had become once I stopped allowing family relationships to be based on financial transactions disguised as love. The hardest part of the entire experience had been accepting that standing up for myself might damage relationships that seemed important to me. The surprising discovery was that the relationships worth preserving became stronger once they were built on mutual respect instead of exploitation. The relationships that couldn't survive boundaries and accountability weren't really healthy relationships to begin with. Today, I have a family that chooses to spend time with me because they enjoy my company, not because they want access to my resources. I have nieces and nephews who are learning valuable lessons about personal responsibility and financial integrity. I have parents who support my life choices instead of trying to manage my resources for their own comfort. Most importantly, I have self-respect that comes from defending my own dignity and well-being instead of sacrificing them to maintain artificial family harmony. The young man who once accepted manipulation as the price of family love has grown into someone who understands that real love doesn't require you to tolerate abuse. The brother who once felt obligated to fund other people's lifestyle choices has learned that true generosity comes from choice, not obligation. And the family member who once feared confrontation more than exploitation has discovered that temporary conflict often creates space for permanent peace. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where family members expect your resources without offering respect, remember this: boundaries aren't walls that shut people out. They're gates that allow healthy relationships to flourish while protecting you from exploitation. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable behavior that hurts everyone involved. Sometimes family means holding people accountable for their choices instead of rescuing them from consequences. And sometimes the vacation you didn't expect becomes the journey toward the family relationships you always wanted but never thought possible. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took your generosity for granted? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. How did you find the balance between being helpful and being taken advantage of? If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating complex family relationships. Share this video with anyone who might be struggling with similar family dynamics. Sometimes knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story and for all your supportive comments. I hope my experience helps you find the courage to protect your own well-being while building healthier relationships with the people you love. Until next time, remember that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine affection. Don't settle for anything less.